because the media has not continued to cover this as a crisis, a lot of people are just kind of being reintroduced to what happened here. So, and you cut me off when I'm wrong. We have 2014, they switch from Detroit's water, which they never had a problem. They were getting clean water from Detroit. But Flint said, "Oh, Detroit keeps raising the prices, and they're price gouging us. So we're gonna go independent." So they devise a plan for the Karagandhi Karagandhi Water Authority.
Yeah, KWA.
Which is private water. It's a privatization pipeline. But that was going to take a while. So in the meantime, they'll go into the Flint water. Now, if you live on the East Coast, the Flint River water is essentially like the Hudson River. It's you got dead bodies flying through there.
You got DuPont, Buick, GM. They all had their plants and dumped into that river for years.
Yeah, yes, and every politician knew that. These emergency managers knew that. So temporarily, we're going to go into the Flint water.
Well, let's not forget though. Amongst that, they kept a 9-mile pipeline that Jeff Wright, the water commissioner, whatever the hell he's called, bought that for $3.9 million from Flint. And I feel that was protecting the wealthier or the better offs around the surrounding Genesee County. $3.9 million for this pipeline that was Flint's pipeline through the emergency manager. Fucking scam.
No, wait. So where did the pipeline go from?
It goes from Detroit's water system, which we were originally on. But now remember, the first call of danger is when GM said, "Hey, this water's rusting our pipes." Boom, right there. They should have shut it down to get us back on the water. But we couldn't because we sold the pipe to Genesee County.
So Genesee County, Flint technically is part of Genesee County, correct? Right.
And we used to sell our water to Genesee County through Detroit.
So Detroit was the pipe. The water came here to Flint. Flint was Detroit's biggest customer for water, and then Flint sold to Genesee County and other areas. Right. So you guys were the buyer and the seller.
Yes.
Right. But the thing about switching to Flint water, the theory was Flint was then going to move it to a privatization, KWA, and KWA could set whatever prices they want.
Right.
With private water, no quality controls and no price controls.
Right. So remember now, we're 35% of this, and they're 65%. But now you got all the outlying areas.
Let's say it again. Who's 35% of it?
The Flint owns 35%, or are entitled. We were forced into. I say forced because we should be renegotiating
of KWA.
Right. Now we got 35%, but we're the last shit that they come from Port Huron through Lapeer and Sanilac, all these littler towns. Genesee County is going to be collecting that money. Then they're collecting our money. I think we're floating for most of the counties. And they're putting in a new water plant. They got all this new stuff that they're building out in Genesee County.
And it's important to note that as soon as General Motors said, we can't use this water for our car parts, anything like that, they were given an exception where they could switch back to Detroit's water.
But in the meantime, here's the residents sucking that sludge-filled shit. And it's damaged us. It's damaged us, folks. And it's still a lie. It is still a damn lie.
But I want to get that point home. When a corporation that's critical to the economy, this and that, when a corporation said these and elections, when a corporation said we can't, this water is toxic, it's killing our parts, this and that, they were allowed to move back to Detroit 5 minutes later. But the same consideration was not made for human beings. Human beings meaning frankly, Flint was once again the hub of middle class, but now 67% African American, a lot of low-income white folk, a lot of people who are out of work, on disability, whatever the case. You see this here, you see this in Detroit, you see this in Cleveland, you see this in Milwaukee, cities all over the country that used to be middle class. Now, I want to get back to when they decided to switch over to the Flint water, they hired outside companies that were supposed to make sure that went smoothly.
Right.
Those companies didn't put carbon filters in, and they didn't put
treat for corrosion. Right. And now I'm going to go back to a Mark Edwards statement that haunts me still today. The phosphates, which he's probably right. I'm not a scientist, guys. I don't claim to fucking be, but here's the deal. Let's coat these pipes with phosphates, okay? And they'll heal themselves. Well, that phosphates created bacterias and shit, I guess, along the lines. and not enough treatment of chlorine or whatever it is. Well, the minute that Snyder heard that, this is just me. He mentions the word phosphate, coat the pipes, save the world. That's how I feel.
Edwards said that.
Yeah, I say that because now here comes Snyder. Oh shit, I got a quick fix, and that's what I thought. So next thing you know, him and Snyder are meeting. Okay, so right then I'm speaking for me.
Was this before or after they switched?
It was after, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, oh, well, now he's meeting with Snyder. We're fucked because there goes our hero. You see what I'm saying?
And again, Mark Edwards was originally the Virginia Tech, what is he, a scientist?
He's the scientist. The dude's badass. I'm not discrediting
So
him at
Virginia Tech did a lot of the home studies and this and that. Mark Edwards originally found the lead, but then he met with Governor Snyder after the contamination.
Right. Now, everybody says there's a payoff. I want to say, yeah, there's a payoff because the college is getting paid for him to be here in a roundabout way. I couldn't tell you those things. Talk to him. You know, talk to Leanne, talk to all of them. Get hold of everybody because we all bring a part to this story. And it's caused some contentions, you know. Well, what are you doing this for? Why are you saying that? And it's like, it's shutting ourselves up, you know. And that's the last thing we need to do right now because we're not being heard no more.
But I want to get this point across because larger picture, we have a president coming in that is all about privatization, wants to privatize the words you speak. This really...
Well, let me just back you up. The last president I wasn't too happy with either. Because
yeah, me neither.
Understand,
yeah.
He stood right there in front of the EPA and all of us in the city of Flint and said, do you remember when you chewed on lead paint? Well, bullshit, I don't want to hear that. And he said, well, I'm going to listen to the EPA. Well, I was told to listen to the EPA when they said to drink through these filters was safe, and that's a bullshit lie. I don't care if that's about lead and copper, that's fine. But we're talking about other chemicals now.
Well, this is also the same EPA that says you can't declare an area a disaster if it's not a natural disaster.
Yeah, but listen, though, this is a Superfund area. They shouldn't have been touching any of this shit anyways. You see what I'm saying?
Explain what Superfund is.
Well, the Superfund is where they take an area, I guess, and they consider it toxic. You can't deal with it. It's done. Well, lo and behold, Kettering's setting over this toxic field. They put 7 layers of dirt over it, and now they're going to build a park. $250,000. And let's not forget, I'm not down in Kettering. God bless them, they're here.
You got to explain who people are.
GM school, college school, GMI College was right down there in the hole on the river, is now Kettering. Kettering is GM. That's all there is to it.
Now,
and they've taken over some stuff through this EM, the Atwood Stadium, some properties. They are now one of the biggest landowners through the land bank, through donations or grants or whatever it is. They now own most of the land down in there.
Now, this is a very complicated story, and there's a lot of layers to this onion of corruption. So if you have questions, ask them in the comments. We'll try to get to questions as well to Tony.
All right, and I'm not saying Kettering's crooked. I'm glad they're here. But like take Atwood Stadium, for instance. We played football there. The bands, Deep Purple, all your bands. I mean, this is a rocking little town. We're just north of Detroit. We rock up in here. We had concerts in this place. Well, I don't have a problem with them coming in there and renovating. It says Kettering on it. It's Atwood Stadium. It's where we party. It's where we all know. But it is a college first, so their sports, they pay for their sports. My ideal is this: if you sell out Atwood Stadium, let's say Grand Funk come back home, you sold out Atwood Stadium, you're Kettering. As a college, I think you should cough up some of that profit back into the city, because after all, you stole Atwood Stadium. It was a give me, fix me. I didn't vote on it. The residents again still have no fucking say of how they're raping and ripping us in this town.
They've laid off pretty much the whole police force.
Yes.
You have overnight like 4 or 6 police. 4 to 6.
If you're lucky.
Yeah, 4 to 6
And you
police.
won't see them till the next day if you file a complaint.
Right. So they laid off the police force. They've laid off.
Which let me say is bullshit.
They've laid off. Which is, by the way, you lay off the police force. Guess what lead does to people? It makes them angry and mood swings.
And anxiety.
I think
I can snap on you any minute. I'll be laughing and punch you at the same time.
So crime is up. So they laid off the police force. They've eliminated half the schools. Correct?
No schools. Shit.
Pretty much all the schools. They've consolidated schools. They're sending people to other counties, whatever. So cut public services destroyed. Cops.
Privatizing most. I mean, like right now, we spent $10 million, 8 years ago for these new garbage trucks? Well, it was longer than 8 years. But they eliminated the city jobs and outsourced the garbage truck. The citizens just spent $10 million. I had one of the ex-council members says, well, we got rid of them because they're 6 years old. I said, damn, dude, we got trucks that are 40 years old still working.
But what I'm getting at, cops gone. Schools gone. let's save money by switching off of Detroit, which you never had a problem with. You never had a problem using
With
Detroit's
Detroit
water.
Other than they jacked the rates on us. That was their move. They was going to make a pipeline just for Flint.
Right.
You know why? Because they had us by the balls.
Right. We'll temporarily we'll switch to Flint water. We won't actually look into whether that's healthy, whatever. Then we'll move to this privatized pipeline. Really, to me, call me cynical, this is the playbook for trying to get rid of poor black and white people.
What's the word? Privatization. They just want to
Privatization.
privatize us. That's it.
And it started to work.
Right.
Because thousands of people have left Flint since this lead crisis.
Right. And thousands more will leave. Because honestly, I don't think anybody's ever going to trust this water again. You understand what I'm saying?
It's not just trust the water, it's trust the politicians.
The politicians need to just go all across the board. We know that. Not all of them. There's a few in there that are busting their ass. But come on, man. We're lifting cases of water. I got a stack right here. And it's like every time I lift one, I'm like, fuck you, Snyder. You know what I'm saying? Now, let's not forget, Snyder's got little guys in there like Baird, his right-hand henchman, behind the closed door meetings with the upper echelons of Flint. They have their own Thursday night meetings, and I've sat into a couple of them. Some of them informed, most of it's just blowing smoke. Everything's fine. The sun shines great. Enjoy your lead-filled water. Get on that filter, God bless you, and enjoy your tap water. It's not going to happen. It's a lie.
But also, there's an element here of just local corruption. Guess what happens when you switch to the Karagandhi Water Authority, the private water company? A lot of the contributors to Governor Snyder, to local politicians
Businesses,
here,
yeah,
they get the contracts.
Right. Now, here's the thing. All this pipeline, that in my understanding, that they built from here so far, there's not one contractor from the city of Flint, which is bullshit. We got 35% of it, and let me tell you, I told the mayor when we was in Lapeer, a few of us have. Mayor, it's time to renegotiate. We got fresh water, so to speak, without our pipes, coming from Detroit. I'm going to say, fuck Karagandhi, first of all. Let's renegotiate. Let's get this a 50-50. And let's not forget to make Lapeer, Sanilac, Port Huron, and whoever else is on this pipeline pay their fair part. Because they're paying all that to Genesee County. It's a stop. We don't get none of that. Not only that, they build new treatment plants there. We got a treatment plant here that we put $50 million in just, 6 years ago or whatever it is? Make this up to par so we can handle our own shit. The way I understand it is this pipeline's, let's say, 52 feet round or 72 feet round. It drops down to 52. We're not going to get the volume of water that we should have.
But what I also think people need to understand, this pipeline, switching to Flint water and going to KWA was projected that it would save $2 million a year.
I'm not sure on the total.
That's the number. $2 million a year. A lot of that money was supposed to go to the Flint water plant for improvements in the treatment. Because
it's not up to par.
The Flint water plant, that when the water comes in, you need to treat it so it's safe to put out. That was not up to par, and the cost savings was not put into that. So no
wonder we couldn't fix the corrosion problem. Well, like Art and a few others said, we couldn't do the work anyways. We didn't have the right material. We didn't have the right equipment.
But what people
and that's what Glasgow and them were saying too. Let's stop for a minute. Something's wrong here, and they threw it down our throats.
But what people also need to understand, right now, they have switched from the Flint River to Detroit, back to Detroit's water system as a temporary Band-Aid. But even though it's coming from Detroit's, the main pipe from Detroit that it used to come through, it's still going through Flint.
Right.
And
now let's not forget the corrosion that they didn't add protection. The corrosion protection was never added. It was a little MDEQ, EPA, it was a bullshit call on their part, and they're not admitting it fully. Now, this corrosion wasn't added, which destroyed the pipes. Now, let's even take it a step further.
The pipes that it's currently going
through.
through.
Not the Detroit pipes, but what it's running through now. Now, you got blowholes in these things, and in this phosphate, that's why I laughed at Mark when he said, how is this going to fix a pipe that's got a hole this big in it?
No, but I want to explain to the audience. So, is it currently the water coming here going through Flint's pipes or Detroit's pipes?
It's coming from Detroit into Flint's pipes. Now, let me give you an example. This house.
Flint's pipes that have had phosphates, chlorine.
There's some wooden pipes downtown Flint that Mott would know about. I mean, it's that old. I mean, all across the United States, it's like that. And it's now just becoming a terror.